Have you ever wondered how James Cameron destroyed a $100,000 semi-truck for a single shot? What if I told you that the most expensive vehicle stunt in Terminator 2 wasn't the tanker explosion, but a modification that made the truck drivable without a cab, and the insurance company refused to cover it until Arnold Schwarzenegger personally demonstrated the safety system? The Kenworth K100 that chased John Connor through Los Angeles held secrets involving illegal modifications, a stunt driver who couldn't see where he was going, and a pyrotechnic effect so dangerous it required evacuating 12 city blocks. Today, we're counting down 20 hidden secrets about Terminator 2's Kenworth K100 tanker truck that will completely change how you see this legendary chase sequence. Number 20. The production used. 7 different Kenworth trucks. The Terminator 2 production didn't use a single tanker truck. They used 7 different Kenworth K100 trucks, each configured for specific stunts and filming requirements. James Cameron's vision for the chase sequence required capabilities no single truck could provide. Truck number 1 was the hero vehicle for close-up shots featuring Robert Patrick as the T1000. This truck was cosmetically perfect, but mechanically standard. Truck number 2 was the Headless truck that drove without a cab, the sequence's most iconic image. This required massive mechanical modifications. Truck number 3 was the crash truck, reinforced for the final collision sequence. Truck 4 was the miniature truck, a 1/6 scale model for the explosion shots. Truck 5 was a static prop for interior shots with actors. Truck 6 was the backup headless truck in case the primary failed. Truck 7 was the parts donor, cannibalized to keep the others running. Each truck cost between $80,000 and $120,000. The production spent approximately $700,000 acquiring these 7 trucks before modifications even began. Coordinating which truck appeared in which shots created massive continuity challenges. The script supervisor maintained detailed logs tracking each truck's appearance to ensure the tanker looked consistent throughout the chase despite using different vehicles. This fleet approach was necessary because no single truck could survive the punishment Cameron planned while remaining filmable. Number 19. The headless truck steering system was completely illegal. The sequence showing the T1000 driving a cab-less semi-truck required inventing a steering system that violated multiple California vehicle codes. Standard semi-trucks are steered from the cab. Remove the cab, and you remove all steering capability. The production needed a truck that could be driven without a cab while looking like an unstoppable machine. Special effects supervisor Dennis Murrin worked with automotive engineers to design a hidden steering system. They installed hydraulic steering actuators on the front axle controlled by a driver positioned behind the 5th wheel where the trailer connects. The driver sat in a reinforced seat with a small video monitor showing forward view from a camera mounted on the trailer front. He controlled the truck using a motorcycle-style handlebar system that operated the hydraulic steering. This configuration was brilliant for filming, but completely illegal for road use. California Vehicle Code required drivers to have an unobstructed forward view. The hidden driver couldn't see directly ahead, relying entirely on a video monitor. The truck also lacked required safety equipment like mirrors and driver restraints. The Department of Transportation refused to issue permits for the modified truck to operate on public roads. The production had to negotiate special exemptions for filming on closed roads only. Even with exemptions, the truck could only operate under strict conditions: daylight only, closed course only, maximum speed 25 miles per hour, and emergency vehicles standing by. These restrictions forced Cameron to carefully plan every shot to maximize the limited operating windows. Number 18. Stunt driver. Visay Chuck Tamburo drove, blind for most shots. Chuck Tamburo, the stunt driver who piloted the headless truck, drove most sequences essentially blind. The video monitor showing forward view was tiny, low resolution, and mounted awkwardly. The camera position on the trailer front provided a distorted fish-eye perspective, unlike normal driving view. Tamburo had approximately 2 feet of width clearance on each side, navigating through the concrete Los Angeles River Channel. One mistake meant crashing into walls at 25 miles per hour. During rehearsals, Tamburo struggled desperately with the limited visibility. The video monitor washed out in bright sunlight, becoming nearly useless. The fisheye lens distortion made judging distances nearly impossible. He crashed during 3 separate practice runs, denting the truck and destroying the hidden steering mechanism. The production considered abandoning the headless truck concept entirely. Instead, they developed a communication system. Chase vehicle drivers radioed constant directions. Coming up on left turn, start turning now, straighten out, more right, hold steady. Tamburo drove based almost entirely on radio commands rather than what he saw on the monitor. This required absolute trust in the chase coordinators and nerves of steel. Tamburo later described it as the most terrifying driving of his career. He was controlling a 40-ton vehicle through a narrow channel while unable to properly see where he was going, relying on voices in his earpiece. One miscommunication could have killed him instantly. Number 17. The Canal sequence required draining. 2 miles of Los Angeles River. The Los Angeles River chase required the production to drain a 2-mile section of the concrete flood control channel. The Los Angeles River isn't a natural river, but a flood control system, normally containing several inches to several feet of water. Camera needed the channel completely dry for filming. The production petitioned the Los Angeles Department of Public Works for permission to temporarily divert water flow. The department initially refused, citing concerns about downstream water supply and environmental impact. After months of negotiation, a compromise was reached. The production could drain one specific 2-mile section during late summer when water flow was minimal. The draining process took 11 days and cost approximately $150,000. Engineers diverted water through alternative channels and pumping stations. The drain section revealed decades of accumulated debris, shopping carts, bicycles, car parts, and unidentifiable trash. The production had to clean the channel before filming, removing approximately 40 tons of debris. Environmental regulations required the production to properly dispose of all recovered material. During filming, the production had to maintain the dry channel despite natural water seepage. Pumps ran continuously, removing groundwater that seeped through the concrete. The production's water management costs exceeded $200,000, making the canal one of the most expensive filming locations despite being public property. Number 16. Arnold Schwarzenegger never actually rode the motorcycle. The race during truck chase. Every shot showing the Terminator on the Harley-Davidson during the truck chase used Arnold Schwarzenegger's stunt double. Schwarzenegger never rode the motorcycle during any chase sequence despite appearing throughout the scene. The insurance company absolutely refused to allow Schwarzenegger to ride a motorcycle at high speed through a concrete channel being chased by a semi-truck. The risk of injury was unacceptable. Schwarzenegger was the film's biggest asset, and his injury would shut down production. For close-up shots showing the Terminator's face while riding, the production used several techniques. Some shots were filmed separately with Schwarzenegger on a stationary motorcycle against a blue screen. The moving background was added in post-production. Other shots used a specially built motorcycle rig that was towed behind a camera truck. Schwarzenegger sat on the motorcycle while it was towed, creating the illusion of him riding while actually being safely pulled. For wider shots where facial features weren't clearly visible, stunt double Peter Kent performed all actual riding. Kent wore Schwarzenegger's costume, including the leather jacket and sunglasses. The production carefully matched lighting and camera angles to make Kent indistinguishable from Schwarzenegger. The deception worked perfectly. Most viewers assume Schwarzenegger performed the motorcycle stunts himself. In reality, he never rode the Harley at speeds above 15 miles per hour during any part of Terminator 2. Number 15. The truck's engine was modified to produce visible exhaust smoke. The Kenworth's dramatic black exhaust smoke wasn't natural diesel emissions. Modern diesel engines, even in 1991, burned relatively clean. Cameron wanted thick black smoke pouring from the stacks to make the truck look aggressive and relentless. The production modified the truck's Detroit diesel engine to deliberately produce excessive smoke. They richened the fuel mixture far beyond optimal combustion ratios, causing incomplete burning that created thick black smoke. They also injected small amounts of oil into the exhaust stream. The oil vaporized in the hot exhaust, creating additional smoke volume and the characteristic black color. The modification destroyed fuel economy and was environmentally terrible, but it looked spectacular on camera. However, the smoke modification violated California emissions regulations. The truck couldn't legally operate on public roads while producing such excessive emissions. The production needed special environmental exemptions from the California Air Resources Board. These exemptions were granted only for filming on closed courses and required the production to monitor air quality around filming locations. The smoke also created practical problems. The thick emissions reduced visibility for everyone involved in the chase. Stunt drivers following the truck complained they couldn't see through the smoke clouds. The production had to schedule frequent breaks to allow smoke to clear from the channel before resuming filming. The dramatic visual effect came at the cost of environmental violations and safety challenges. Number 14. The tanker explosion used a 1/6 scale miniature. The climactic tanker explosion wasn't a full-size truck. It was a meticulously detailed 1/6 scale miniature. Destroying a full-size fuel tanker in a massive explosion would have been impossibly dangerous and expensive. Instead, special effects supervisor Dennis Murin's team built a 1/6 scale Kenworth K100 that was indistinguishable from the real truck on film. The miniature truck was approximately 9 feet long, constructed from the same materials as the real truck: aluminum, steel, rubber, and glass. Every detail was precisely scaled: the Kenworth badges, the exhaust stacks, the fuel tank straps, even the wear patterns and dirt. The miniature cost approximately $60,000 to build, requiring 8 weeks of fabrication. The explosion was filmed at high speed to make the miniature appear full-sized. By filming at 96 frames per second and playing back at 24 frames per second, the explosion appeared to move at 1/4 speed. This compensated for the miniature's reduced scale, making debris fly and fire develop at speeds consistent with a full-size explosion. The miniature was rigged with precisely measured explosive charges positioned to fragment the truck realistically. The pyrotechnic team used 1/6 the explosive power they would use for a full-size effect, maintaining proper scale relationships. Multiple cameras captured the explosion from different angles. The shot was so expensive and complex they only got one take. Number 13. Robert Patrick. Trained for 6 weeks to run like a machine, Robert Patrick's running style, as the T1000, wasn't natural. It was carefully choreographed after 6 weeks of training to move in an inhuman, machine-like manner. Patrick studied footage of Olympic sprinters, analyzing their biomechanics. He worked with a movement coach to eliminate natural human running inefficiencies. Humans bob up and down while running, wasting energy on vertical movement. Patrick learned to run with minimal vertical motion, moving forward with machine-like efficiency. His arms moved in perfectly straight lines rather than the slightly curved motion natural runners use. His breathing was controlled and even, never showing exertion or fatigue. During the tanker chase, Patrick runs at full sprint for extended sequences. A human would show obvious fatigue, heavy breathing, slowing pace, irregular stride. Patrick maintained absolutely consistent form throughout multiple takes. The inhuman running quality made the T1000 terrifying. He didn't run like someone chasing prey. He ran like a machine executing programmed instructions with perfect efficiency. Patrick's dedication extended beyond movement. He controlled his facial expressions to remain blank and emotionless while sprinting. Natural runners grimace with effort. Patrick showed nothing, enhancing the machine illusion. This required incredible physical conditioning and mental discipline. Patrick trained his cardiovascular system to handle extended sprints while maintaining the artificial running style that felt wrong to his body's natural rhythms. Number 12. The truck's fuel tank held water, not gasoline. The Kenworth's large cylindrical tank, designed to resemble a fuel tanker, was filled with water, not gasoline or any flammable liquid. Filming a high-speed chase with an actual fuel tanker would have been insanely dangerous. Any collision or malfunction could cause a catastrophic explosion. The production built a custom tank designed to look like a fuel tanker, but actually constructed as a water tank. The exterior was polished aluminum, matching real fuel tankers. Inside was simply a water reservoir. The water served multiple purposes. It added weight to the truck, improving stability during high-speed maneuvers. The sloshing liquid created realistic movement that would appear on film. Most importantly, it eliminated the fire hazard. If the truck crashed during filming, water would spill harmlessly instead of igniting. The water tank was connected to the truck's brake system in an unusual way. During hard braking, valves would release water from the tank, creating dramatic spray effects. This simulated a damaged tanker leaking fuel, adding visual drama to chase sequences. The water release system malfunctioned during one take, dumping the entire tank contents at once. The sudden weight loss of approximately 2,000 gallons caused the truck to lurch forward unexpectedly. Stunt driver Tamburo maintained control, but the incident demonstrated the challenges of managing liquid cargo during stunt driving. Damaged the Los Angeles River and paid $1.2 million in repairs damage assessment. The truck chase caused significant damage to the Los Angeles River's concrete channel. The Kenworth's weight and the aggressive driving created cracks and gouges in the concrete surface. The production's agreement with the Department of Public Works required them to repair any damage. Initial estimates suggested repairs might cost $50,000 to $100,000 for minor crack filling. The actual damage was far more extensive. The truck's weight concentrated on relatively small contact patches created stress fractures throughout the chase section. High-speed turns caused the tires to grind against the channel walls, gouging deep marks. The motorcycle stunts also contributed damage from high-speed impacts and slides. After filming wrapped, engineers inspected the 2-mile section and found over 300 significant cracks and stress points requiring repair. Some areas had concrete fragments breaking away, creating potential flood control hazards. The Department of Public Works declared the damage unacceptable and demanded comprehensive repairs. The final repair cost totaled $1.2 million, far exceeding initial estimates. Ironically, the repairs actually improved the channel's condition beyond its pre-filming state. The Department of Public Works used the production's money to upgrade sections that had needed maintenance for years. Was filmed in reverse to protect stunt drivers. The climactic collision where the Terminator causes the tanker truck to crash wasn't filmed as it appears on screen. The sequence was filmed in reverse, then played backwards in post-production. Cameron wanted the truck to jackknife and flip, creating a spectacular crash. Filming this forward presented impossible safety challenges. The truck would be completely out of control during the crash, creating unpredictable dangers for stunt drivers. Instead, the stunt team positioned the truck in its final crash position. They attached cables to carefully choreographed pull points. Powerful winches pulled the truck backwards, essentially uncrashing it in a controlled manner. High-speed cameras filmed this reverse motion at 96 frames per second. In post-production, the footage was reversed and played at normal speed. The controlled backwards pull became a forward crash that looked violent and chaotic, but was actually precisely managed. This technique allowed stunt coordinators to control every aspect of the crash. They knew exactly how the truck would move because they were pulling it through predetermined paths. Stunt drivers could be positioned safely because the motion was controlled rather than chaotic. The reversed footage was so convincing that even film industry professionals didn't realize the technique. The crash looks dangerous and unpredictable, exactly what Cameron wanted, but was actually one of the safest stunts in the entire sequence because of the reverse filming approach. The Kenworth's braking system was upgraded to aircraft specifications. The Headless truck chase required stopping a 40-ton semi-truck without a cab, in situations far more demanding than normal trucking. Standard air brake systems weren't adequate for the extreme stops Cameron envisioned. The production upgraded the Kenworth's brakes to aircraft-grade specifications typically used on cargo planes. Aviation brake systems use different hydraulic pressures and friction materials than automotive brakes. The upgrade required completely replacing the truck's brake calipers, rotors, and hydraulic lines. Aircraft brake pads use carbon ceramic compounds that can withstand temperatures exceeding 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit without fading. Standard truck brakes would overheat and fail during repeated hard stops required for filming. The aviation spec brakes cost approximately $40,000 per truck, more than many entire vehicles. Only the Headless Hero truck and its backup received this expensive upgrade. The improved braking created new problems. The brakes were so powerful they could lock the wheels instantly, causing dangerous skids. Stunt driver Chuck Tamburo had to recalibrate his muscle memory because normal pressure would lock all wheels. The aviation brakes worked flawlessly, but required constant adjustment and monitoring. Edward Furlong was never in the Canal. During motorcycle shots, Edward Furlong, playing young John Connor, never rode in the Los Angeles River Channel during any chase sequence. Every shot showing John on the dirt bike fleeing the truck used a young stunt double. Furlong was 13 years old during filming, and California child labor laws strictly prohibited minors from participating in dangerous stunts. The production couldn't legally allow Furlong anywhere near the actual chase. For close-up shots showing John's face during the chase, the production used multiple creative techniques. Some shots were filmed with Furlongs on a stationary dirt bike against a blue screen with the Canal background added later. Other shots used a specially built motorcycle simulator that shook and moved while remaining safely stationary. The simulator could tilt and vibrate, creating the illusion of high-speed riding. Furlong's stunt double was a small-statured adult who could pass for a young teenager when wearing a helmet and riding gear. Wide shots showing John riding used this double exclusively. The production carefully avoided showing the rider's face clearly in these sequences. Cameron's editing brilliantly integrated the blue screen close-ups with the stunt double-wide shots. Most viewers never realized Furlong wasn't actually riding. The truck's transmission was modified to shift, automatically driving the Headless. Kenworth required both hands controlling steering through the obstacle handlebar system. This created an obvious problem. Semi-truck transmissions require manual shifting through 10 to 18 gears. Stunt driver Chuck Tamburo couldn't steer and shift simultaneously. The production solution involved completely replacing the truck's manual transmission with an automatic transmission borrowed from a heavy-duty coach bus. Coach buses use automatic transmissions designed to handle similar weight and power as semi-trucks. The transmission swap required custom adapters to mate the bus transmission to the truck's Detroit diesel engine. The modification took 6 weeks and cost approximately $35,000. The automatic transmission eliminated the need for manual shifting, but created different handling characteristics. The truck accelerated more slowly than with a manual transmission. Gear changes were less responsive to driver input. Tamburo had to learn entirely different throttle techniques to maintain smooth acceleration. The automatic transmission also affected the truck's sound. Automatic transmissions don't produce the distinctive gear change sounds audiences associate with semi-trucks. Sound designers had to artificially add transmission shift sounds in post-production to make the truck sound properly mechanical and aggressive. Built a full-scale Kenworth mock-up for interior shots. All shots showing the T1000 inside the Kenworth's cab were filmed in a complete truck mock-up built on a soundstage. None of these interior shots were filmed in an actual moving truck. The mock-up was constructed from a real Kenworth cab mounted on a stationary platform. The cab was completely isolated from any chassis or mechanical components. Special effects technicians could rock, tilt, and shake the cab to simulate driving motion. The mock-up allowed complete control over lighting, camera placement, and actor safety. Director Cameron could remove entire sections of the cab to position cameras in impossible locations. The stationary setup meant Robert Patrick could focus entirely on performance without the distraction and danger of actual driving. The mock-up's motion system used hydraulic rams identical to flight simulators. Technicians could program specific movement patterns matching the Canal chase's rough terrain. The cab would pitch, roll, and shake in sync with projected backgrounds showing the actual chase. Patrick performed his scenes while the cab moved violently around him, creating a convincing illusion of high-speed driving. The mock-up cost approximately $75,000 to construct, but saved far more in filming efficiency and actor safety. Keep Bowie's number 5, the motorcycle jump over the truck. I used a hidden ramp. The spectacular shot showing the dirt bike jumping over the fallen tanker truck used clever practical effects hidden in plain sight. The motorcycle couldn't naturally jump high enough to clear the truck. Physics simply wouldn't allow sufficient height from a running start. The production built a concealed jump ramp disguised as debris from the truck crash. The ramp was constructed from lightweight foam and fiberglass, painted and textured to look like twisted metal wreckage. It was positioned precisely where the motorcycle would hit it, providing the necessary launch angle. The stunt rider hit the hidden ramp at exactly 32 miles per hour, the speed calculated to produce proper jump trajectory. The ramp's angle and the rider's speed combined to launch the motorcycle approximately 9 feet in the air, just enough to clear the overturned truck. Multiple cameras captured the jump from angles that made the ramp invisible. Cameron's editing ensured no shot clearly showed the ramp's presence. The debris field around the crash made the ramp blend perfectly into the chaotic scene. After the successful jump, the stunt coordinator revealed the ramp had partially collapsed during impact. The motorcycle barely cleared the truck. Another few inches and the bike would have struck the trailer, likely killing the rider. $30,000 worth of breakaway glass. The truck's windows and windshield weren't real glass. They were constructed from breakaway glass, also called candy glass, a special material designed to shatter safely for film stunts. Real glass creates dangerous shards that can cause severe injuries. Breakaway glass fractures into harmless granules. Manufacturing breakaway glass in the quantities and sizes needed for the Kenworth trucks was expensive and complex. Glass for all 7 trucks, knowing it glass for all 7 trucks, knowing it would shatter during stunts, and need constant replacement. The total breakaway glass budget exceeded $30,000. The material had frustrating limitations. Breakaway glass is fragile and shatters from minor impacts that wouldn't affect real glass. The truck's glass broke repeatedly during normal handling and transport. Each broken piece required expensive replacement. Temperature extremes also affected breakaway glass. California's heat caused some panels to spontaneously fracture. Cold nights made others brittle. The production's prop department became expert at emergency breakaway glass replacement, keeping spare panels constantly available. Despite the expense and fragility, breakaway glass was essential for safety during the violent stunts. The liquid nitrogen effect. Used real cryogenic nitrogen. The sequence showing the T-1000 freezing and shattering after being sprayed with liquid nitrogen wasn't entirely special effects. The production used genuine liquid nitrogen for maximum realism. Liquid nitrogen is extremely dangerous, boiling at -320 degrees Fahrenheit. Contact causes instant severe frostbite. Inhaling the vapor can freeze lung tissue. The production safety protocols for the nitrogen sequence were extensive. Multiple safety officers monitored nitrogen levels and temperature. Actors wore protective gear under costumes. Medical personnel with cold injury treatment equipment stood by. The liquid nitrogen created spectacular practical effects. Real frozen vapor clouds billowed across the set. Metal props sprayed with nitrogen developed genuine frost coating. The ultra-cold temperature made materials contract and become brittle exactly as they should. However, the nitrogen effects were incredibly difficult to control. Liquid nitrogen evaporates rapidly, requiring constant replenishment. The intense cold affected nearby equipment. Several cameras malfunctioned from temperature shock. The set's concrete floor cracked from thermal stress. Despite challenges, Cameron insisted on real liquid nitrogen because computer graphics in 1991 couldn't replicate the physics convincingly. The genuine cryogenic effects cost approximately $40,000, but created visuals that still look realistic decades later. Industrial Light and Magic created over 300 digital shots. The truck chase sequence contained far more computer graphics than audiences realized. Industrial Light and Magic created over 300 digital effects, shots seamlessly integrated throughout the chase. These weren't obvious effects like the T-1000 morphing. They were invisible enhancements that audiences never noticed as computer-generated. Many shots required digitally removing safety equipment. Stunt drivers wore helmets and protective gear that needed to be painted out frame by frame. Safety cables preventing vehicles from leaving the canal had to be digitally erased. The headless truck shots required extensive digital work. The hidden driver's position was visible in some camera angles and had to be digitally obscured. Exhaust smoke was enhanced digitally to appear thicker and more dramatic. Sparks from the truck scraping walls were digitally multiplied for visual impact. Background elements were digitally added or removed to enhance composition. The Los Angeles skyline visible in some shots was completely computer-generated because the actual canal location didn't provide desired views. Each digital enhancement was subtle and unnoticeable, but collectively elevated the sequence's visual impact. This industrial light and magic's invisible effects work cost approximately $1.5 million, nearly as much as the practical truck stunts themselves. The original tanker explosion filmed during principal photography was completely unusable. The pyrotechnic team miscalculated explosive charges, and the miniature truck explosion looked underwhelming on film. The fireball was too small, the debris didn't fragment properly, and the overall effect lacked the apocalyptic scale Cameron envisioned. Worse, the footage was accidentally damaged during processing. A laboratory error scratched several frames, and the high-speed camera footage showed flickering artifacts. Cameron faced a terrible choice: use substandard explosion footage or spend hundreds of thousands recreating the shot. He chose to reshoot. 6 months after principal photography wrapped, the production reassembled the miniature effects team. They built a second 1/6 scale Kenworth, this time with more detailed fragmentation points. Pyrotechnics experts recalculated explosive charges, doubling the power. The second explosion was filmed with redundant camera coverage to prevent another processing disaster. The reshoot explosion cost approximately $250,000, an enormous expense for a single shot lasting 3 seconds. But Cameron was right. The second explosion was spectacular, becoming one of Terminator 2's most memorable images. The original unusable footage still exists in archived form, a reminder of how close the production came to settling for an inferior effect. The Kenworth K100 became more than a movie villain. It became a monument to James Cameron's uncompromising vision and practical effects mastery. From illegal modifications to million-dollar reshoots, every frame proved that creating the impossible requires extraordinary commitment. The tanker that chased John Connor remains a testament to what filmmakers can achieve when they refuse to settle for good enough.